Machines 1 and 2 in this batch are complete, and now I get to open up a ZX Spectrum Plus for the first time. I can't say I'm a fan of this keyboard, having grown up with the rubber key. Those hard-edged keys are uncomfortable and unfriendly. Give me that zombie flesh keyboard any day. Inside, these are mostly just the same as any rubber key 48K Spectrum, with all the same problems. So, which one do you fancy?
I'm going to go for this one.
Okay then, flashy graphics. It's a good choice.
Oh boy.
Ah, this is interesting. What's going on in here then? Looks like a homebrew repair to the membrane.
Well then, it looks like they've pressure fit these wires underneath this clamp to the membrane, which is quite a neat fix. I do like this. This is nice, but it's going to have to come out. As far as I can tell, this is an 84. I reckon this is an upgrade. In fact, is this the one that says, yeah, this is upgraded. This is the one that says upgraded.
An upgraded ZX Spectrum Plus is what happened when a rubber key owner developed severe RSI of the thumb trying to reach that spacebar on the old style keyboard. Sinclair sold the Plus case as a kit to drop your motherboard into, and then you could bask in the glory of what was just as terrible a keyboard as the rubber key, only harder. Well, maybe a slight upgrade in that it had more keys, but a downgrade in terms of being much less friendly feeling under your fingertips.
Let's have a look.
The first thing to do is get that keyboard detached. I'll need to remove this glorious bodge. I really love stuff like this. It's someone's personal history, and I'm just glad I can share it with all of you. Truly wonderful and a privilege. Right, let's tear it out. It's in my way.
No, they didn't pressure fit it. They've somehow clamped it together under there.
IPA is amazing at removing hot melt glue. It's almost magical.
Ah! Oh, now that's clever.
What's clever? Can't be you.
That's clever. That's the socket from here. What they did was move it further up the cable to where it was good. I'm impressed.
Something most Spectrum repairers have probably done when trying to rescue an old membrane is trim the end of the flat flex to get to a good bit. Cut too much and you don't have enough to reach the connector. This amazing Retro Bodge decided to bring the keyboard connector to the good bit of flex and then extend the connector connections to the motherboard with those white wires.
Look, not bad. That's not bad at all. Whoever you were, 80s bodger, I take my hat off to you. Good job. Quite easy. Okay. Let's have a look. There's no work been done to this apart from that keyboard connector.
That's always a good sign. We don't want other people's kludged fixes to fix. Resistance checks first, regulator and memory voltage rails all check good. This is good. On the other side, the coil is shorted across its windings. This is bad.
That's a worry. That's a worry.
With that contamination, my mind went to the probability of liquid damage and assumed this coil was broken. It's a fair assumption. It's also a wrong one. I have no regrets.
Doesn't look quite right. Could be that TR4 has gone dead short. I wonder if that's the case.
Could be. I checked the transistor for a dead short, just not very well. What you're seeing here is me checking and failing to find the short. If I'd done this properly, I would have saved myself from what comes next.
I reckon it's the coil.
These coils are not cheap to buy, and I'm yet to hear of a modern replacement being sourced. I know friend of the channel, The Lost Retro Tapes, who you'll be hearing more about in the future, is on the hunt. If he finds one, I'll share that info here. Another thing about these coils is they're a pain to remove, with large pins and super thick traces sucking away all the heat.
Okay, I've got 3 loose. It's just that one holding on there, so I'm just going to heat that one. This one holding on that one.
I struggled for this for longer than I can show here without killing my retention, but in the end it comes free.
Phew. That was a pig, and they are plugged. The wire windings of the coils must have been driven down into the holes. This was really pushed down into the board. So, do we still have a short? We're on BP continuity. This was that way around. So these should be no. Yeah, it's downstream. This is fine. We're all good there, but not in here. Something is short-circuited, so I need to find out what's upstream from that. Alright, so I look at the schematics and it looks like my first instinct of it being TR4 was right, but I didn't test it very well. So I tested it from the top side with continuity because I thought it, because there's a short here. And one side of this goes to the base of TR4, one side of the coil on this side, and the other side goes to the collector on TR4. And I tested those like this and nothing really happened. There we go. There's a dead short on one side of TR4.
There's a shock.
Let's get that little sucker out.
It's getting to the stage, if I find a working one in a board, it's a huge surprise.
And then get that coil back in.
Anyway, once I get TR4 replaced, the next stage is to test the voltages and see where we stand.
Very cool little gadget. So much easier than my old one. This is an S8050, which according to that website is a suitable replacement. This has to go in the wrong way around though.
New TR4 fitted. Is the short gone?
First of all, continuity test. Woohoo! Short's all gone.
Excellent. Just need to replace the coil and we can get cracking on this fix. Who knows, this might be the only thing wrong.
It's not. Whoops.
Blue tack let me down for once.
Sweet as a nut. Right, so now we should not be getting shorts here, and we should be getting shorts here. Okay, resistance to the lower RAM.
Wait, didn't you already do this?
I already did this, didn't I? And it was all right.
Get on with it.
Yeah, you can see that. That says that's the 900 milliamps is the current limit. If I turn it on now, it goes over, just a touch over, and then drops. That looks good to me. I think, do I composite mod it? Or do I just
Comp mod. It's one capacitor.
plug it in?
Super fast one.
What do we think? Don't think it's just going to work. I think some memory will be broken at least.
Oh, that's a scarily accurate prediction. A fairly safe bet though. Once TR4 goes bad and the -5 and 12 volt rails are at the wrong voltage, the lower RAM tends to fail without those.
Hit it
It's
again.
probably more a question of how many.
Oh.
Well, that looks broken. But did you check the cables with a working machine first? Do you even watch your own stuff?
Okay. You know what you're supposed to do? You're supposed to check your cables.
You can check all the cables you want, but that Spectrum isn't going to display anything without a ULA.
Wise Adrian once told me. What the hell? That's got no ULA in it.
You catch on fast.
What do I do with the ULA? I'm not even sure.
This is my Nebula ULA replacement. I only have one, and they're impossible to buy now. The screen and cables are all working, so I can now move on with my checks. Voltage is next.
4.95 is good. 5 volts is good. That meant to be 12. 1.8 is not good. And 0.5.
-5 and 12 volt are missing, which is not unusual. Knowing TR4 is now good, and having just replaced it, I decided to replace all of the caps, just in case a bad cap was trying to ruin my day. All of these Spectrums will be recaps anyway, so it's a good thing to eliminate this as a possible
not good.
cause.
I think we've all seen this before. Can I turn the cameras off for a bit?
And off camera, I replaced all of the capacitors. Did that fix it?
Still the same thing.
No. So what's next? Recheck the voltage now the cap's on you.
Five coming out. None going in. 0.5, 1.8, and 5. So 5 volts, all right. 12 and -5 are not. Okay, I'm looking at TR5 again. So there's voltage drop that way, and there's voltage drop that way, which you'd expect. And then there's also some that way. And some that way. So normally it does it 3 out of the 4 ways, but not all 4. Just pop that out. I've just oiled my pump, so this should work super well. Look at that. Oh, that's all right.
Okay, so it's upstream.
Hang on a minute. If I put that in the wrong way.
Probably. You know what you're like.
Okay, I put this transistor in the wrong way around. I might not have needed to recap this whole entire board, but it's done now.
What confused me here is the transistors I'm using to replace these are slightly different, with the pinout being reversed. This one is probably toast now.
Killed it.
Yeah, toast. Okay, we got this episode's goof out of the way. Let's get some working transistors in there and see if we have voltage.
still the same.
Are you sure you put the transistors in the right way round this time?
TR4 keeps blowing. I've changed it a few times and it just keeps blowing. I've put a different type in there as well, which is why this one's in the other way around to this one. Obviously I recapped, they didn't make any difference. TR4 just keeps blowing. The most likely thing is there's a memory chip that's gone bad and is drawing too much current, and which is blowing TR4. I can't test anything with TR4 blowing because it blows immediately. There's just no opportunity to check anything. I've taken the ULA out for safety reasons. So the next thing to do is I'm going through all of the, this is the voltage conversion circuit with TR5 and TR4 in it, plus 5 volts coming in. There's also 9 volts coming in, and the coil is here, and it all gets converted to 12 volts and minus 5 volts and 12 volts. And what I want to check are, there are various diodes in the later part of the circuit, which can be a problem. There's a couple in this section as well, to do with the 12 volt. So I'm going to check all these diodes by pulling one end and checking them with the circuit tester. I've just checked D19 and that one's okay. But I'm just going to go through those because that's quite an easy thing to do before I start pulling chips out. But once I've got those ticked off, and anything else that's around there, I don't think any of the capacitors, I mean I've changed all the electrolytics. I don't think any of the ceramics could be a problem. There's nothing that stands out. I'll quickly buzz that resistor and that resistor, but I don't suspect those will be a problem. Apart from that, yeah, once I've got that done, then I'll start down this end, pull these chips out one at a time until I find which one is causing the problem. I'm fairly sure it's going to be one of those, because there's only the lower RAM and the video chip that use 12 volts. The video chip is very unlikely to go, so it'll be that. So I'm going to get on with that. We'll report back. Okay, so all the diodes on that circuit checked out fine, all 5. I'll have to take out TR4 because that's blown. But now it's time for the gun of doom.
Making sure the simple stuff is working is the right thing to do.
First one coming out. We'll solder out the other side as usual, but it's a bit stiff, it doesn't want to move. So I'm giving it a chance. Time to move. Got to be careful not to lever. Look at those lovely, perfect long legs, not been trimmed. Awesome. Place your bets. 4116. 4116 swap. Yes! Look at that! But how many are broken? Oh, yes!
Good question.
God, that feels good. You can stay and watch. Let's get TR4 out.
I'm getting ahead of myself here, replacing TR4 so I can test, hoping the RAM chip I removed, which tested faulty, is the single problem.
That's alright.
That's a surprise. These normally blow like a fuse. Not a good fuse that protects the circuit, a bad fuse that just makes things break when it blows. An anti-fuse.
That one needs to go in the same way. Okay, let's put it back in. Plug in some power and see what happens. I've got a feeling more than one will be dead.
Highly likely, but how many?
Fell out. Doofus.
Voltages again.
Well, that's an improvement. But but it's not quite there. I reckon we've got another one down.
Okay, let's get on with it. Next one out, and will it be a bad one or a good one?
Good stuff. This was the last one. Dead as a doornail. Dead too. Interesting. Look, if both of those were dead, chances are something else is gone.
I'm hedging my bets here. What I'm actually thinking is they're probably all dead.
I'm going to take them all out. If I get to one that's working, I'll stop. What do you think?
So, chip 3?
What are my chances? Dead.
Dead.
Catastrophically dead.
5 chips out and...
One. I don't know if you saw it. This is an overnight break. They've all been so far.
Dead. And the rest?
All of them have been immediately failed. I did test so then 4116 out of my stash, salvaged off of a board, and that's fine. Okay, I bet all 3 of those are dead. They're all dead, Dave.
They're all dead. Everybody's dead, Dave.
Been using this up. This is actually nice. It's nice solder, but I usually use it on things like the power pins and big heavy stuff. But it's it's not amazingly useful. It's quite cheap. You can get this off of Amazon, but it's too thick to use for normal stuffs. So I'm just flooding it onto these pins. This is so thick, this solder, I can actually feel the heat going up it. You can't usually feel that. I think all of these chips have been shoved into the board hard when they were manufactured, making them a little bit trickier to remove. You hear it tick when the joint lets go. There it goes. The back of these tweezers is rounded, so it doesn't damage the traces. No damage. Dead. Dead. God, just one? Could be nice if it was just one. Dead.
All of them?
That's amazing. All of those are dead. Every single one. Which is a shame because, I'll give you a for instance. Normally you get chips with cut off legs like this. And them ones are not too bad, but some of them are really short. And they don't go into sockets too well if I line the top of the legs up. And it's a good 2mm cut off of those. These haven't been cut down, and they would have been lovely to put back in sockets, but no, they're all dead, Dave.
You already made that joke.
Right, so I'm going to put sockets in all of these, and because I'm going to use the RAM expansion board instead of chips, I need to make sure that each socket is perfectly flush, because if there's one that's slightly lifted, then that RAM expansion board or RAM replacement board will not fit in there properly.
So I want to fit a lower RAM module as sold by Retroeleum, but this is now being recorded at Christmas and Phil is taking a break for the holidays. As I record this voiceover, his shop is still closed a couple of weeks into January, with a message saying there are some family health issues he's having to deal with. Wishing you and family all the best, Phil. Hope all is well soon. So, plan B.
So I need to get this all socketed up. I'm going to fit a lower RAM module in here, but I don't have it yet, so I'm going to have to test it with chips and then put the lower RAM module in later. But the first thing to do is to clean up all of the debris. And I have to be really careful because these traces on here are uncovered and they're quite easy just to rub them off, to abrade them off with solder braid, so I have to be a little bit careful. Not using any pressure. Like push down on each wire and not drag across the traces. So push, lift, push, lift, push, lift, and all the way across. Pristine. There's just no damage there at all.
Okay, new socket's going in. I do hope I don't burn my finger pressing it against the other side of the socket. That would not be funny at all. Oh no.
That's hot. Ouch. Alright, yeah, laugh it up, bloody editing boy. You just sit there in your chair all day pressing mouse buttons.
Hey, I could end up with RSI.
That really hurt. You won't see me make that mistake again. For at least 10 minutes. Oh god, I nearly did it again.
I don't use my fume extractor as much as I probably should. It might have something to do with it sounding like a jet taking off. Right, what's the score?
Okay. We are drawing 280 milliamps, 2.8. And we have ground and 5 volts. And we have minus 5 volts. And we have 12 volts. Zibbity-doo!
Some preventative contact cleaner for the ULA socket. And a full bank of lower RAM scrounged from my parts bins. These are just a temporary solution until Retroeleum reopens and I can order a lower RAM module. Does it work?
Nice.
Nice!
Transistors.
Don't get too worked up. Actually, what happened here is during the switch on after installing the memory, I forgot to press record on my camera. So the woohoo moment is lost forever. You'll just have to use your imagination. This keyboard is pretty filthy. If only I had a machine that could sort that for me. The keys are probably removable, but I have a good idea.
That's not going to fall apart. I'll put that whole thing in the ultrasonic cleaner.
Oh, new workshop toy. Happy birthday to me. There's years of grime in the texture of the keyboard and probably in between all of the keys. I'm hoping this ultrasonic cleaner will get rid of all of that without me having to pull all the keys off. It will be a huge time saver if it works.
Okay, one thing I forgot to do is it needs a new keyboard connector. So I need to clear these holes and drop in. Oh, why is that going through there? And drop in a new connector.
Ah yes, I forgot about that. Fortunately, I have a spare.
It's New Year's Eve and the fireworks have already started.
New Year's Eve is also my birthday.
And it is 8:45.
One of the best things about being an old man on his birthday is people tend to leave me alone to tinker in my workshop, as they know that's where I really want to be. Also, Happy New Year!
That's the left hand one. That's the right hand one. So this one goes the opposite way to that one. Contacts at the top of that one and the bottom of this one. Double check that on that one. Yeah. Oh, although this is double-sided. This could go either way. And the old ones were like a single wipe, only had the contacts at the bottom. Like that one. These ones have got them on both sides. So that's nice. I think they're lovely. Yeah. Beautiful. Let's get one of the middle ones. Right, my fingers are at each end. Yes. Sweet. The last thing I want to do is clean this keyboard, which is, as you saw before, quite minging. But I've popped out one key to test. I don't know what the result's going to be, and I've put it in here with its post, and I'm going to put it in the ultrasonic cleaner and see what happens to it. But I'm not going to put it straight in solution. I'm going to pop it in a Ziploc bag. In fact, I don't really need to put it in this. It's going in a Ziploc. But the idea is this: is I can put, if this works, I can put all of the whole thing in without having to take it apart in a bigger Ziploc bag. I'm going to fill this with some distilled water and a touch of glass cleaner, and then we'll see.
The idea of using the Ziploc bag inside the ultrasonic cleaner is it works better if the liquid, the item you are cleaning, is submerged in deionized water. Tap water works, but is less effective. Putting the thing to be cleaned in a Ziploc bag saves me having to fill the whole tank with expensive deionized water. This way I can just fill the tank with hot water from the tap.
And I will set that for 5 minutes. Five minutes have elapsed. Well, I don't see any ill effects, so I'm going to go for a full clean. That has actually taken all of the dirt off of that. I'm impressed.
In the end, I did run it through for about 30 minutes, and it did come out perfectly clean. I'm very pleased with the cleaner. Being able to fit something
First
as big as a
impression's
Commodore 64 motherboard in there will be very useful in the future.
It's clean as a whistle. It's hard to see under this light, but there's just no dirt left on there at all. This is the way to go. And have a look at this keyboard, which is now pretty gorgeous.
Reset switch needs putting back on C27. And through the magic of clever editing and being so busy it takes me a month to get round to making the episode, the lower RAM module arrived from Retroeleum, who are now, thankfully, back up and running. The owner of this ZX Spectrum Plus, Paul, has purchased some keyboard membranes for this and the other machines needing new ones. He'll fit those when I get this back to him. For now, I'll drop this rubber specky keyboard in here for testing purposes. I've already tested the audio input port, loading Manic Miner and letting that run for 4 hours to make sure this was all super stable. And apart from the keyboard membrane, this is a perfect machine. Just a final test with Chucky Egg. This was my best pal Jason's and possibly my other best pal, his brother Marcus's favourite Spectrum game back in the day. I wonder what happened to those guys. Actually, I kid. They both subscribe and will probably be complaining at the screen that some other game was their favourite and their actual best pal was some other random nerd. So, to sum up, a total failure of all the lower RAM ICs. Not something I've personally seen before, but I don't think it's unheard of, especially as TR4 let go in the way it did. That's 3 down, 2 to go. See you in the next one.